Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winnipeg Jets postgame show presented by Budweiser. I'm Sara Orlesky, joined by Mitchell Clinton. Well, where do we want to start? You know, we often joke sometimes when things aren't going well. Well, this was a game.
Yes.
This certainly was a game. The Winnipeg Jets returning home after a 4-game road trip to kick off 6 of 7 here in Canada Life Centre. This one, though, from the beginning did not go well for them. 5-1 Colorado, the winners in this one. And this was a game, let's get right into it. This was a game that coming into this, head coach Rick Bowness said that he called this the most important game of the year. We know where things are in the standings. We know that things have tightened up around the Jets with Minnesota and Colorado as well. And from the beginning, the Winnipeg Jets were badly outplayed by the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, it was a tough start. Honestly, like you mentioned, Nathan MacKinnon scores 19 seconds in, and then the Jets get a power play, and they tie it up on a Mason Appleton goal, and you're thinking, okay, tough start, that's fine, but you got it back to even terms. But then it was just 90 seconds later, all of a sudden it was 2-1, Mikko Rantanen. And I mean, you look at a score like 5-1, and you think, well, man, did Connor Hellebuyck have a tough night? Not really. I mean, you're going to, if you go to winnipegjets.com, you see the highlights, you'll see a few of them, I'm sure, throughout the show here. But, it's not like I don't think he really had a chance on any of the 4 that beat him. And then even the 5th one is right at the top of the crease. So that's a tough one for him, too. He only played the first 2 periods of this one. David Riddick comes in the 3rd. But, yeah, just overall, I mean, it's one of those nights that you're just going to look at if you're the Winnipeg Jets. And I'm curious to hear what they say in the dressing room, just because you don't know, there's some nights that you just take the video and you throw it away, but there's other nights where you really got to sit and look at it and figure out exactly what's going on.
I don't know. And at this point of the season, too, is this really, we do often talk about games where you go, just put this one behind and move on. And we know that coming off of a long road trip, often that first game home can be problematic. We've seen it in the past and in previous seasons as well. But I don't know if at this point in the season, with some of the troubles that we saw out there, that this didn't look like the Winnipeg Jets team that we were used to seeing earlier on in the season.
Yeah, and you can dive into your shot attempt numbers and everything like that. The Winnipeg Jets got better as the game went on in that department, but part of that, I'm sure, is also Colorado being up 4-1, 5-1. And kind of sitting back a little bit. But I thought as the game went on, the Jets got a little bit quicker. They started to generate a little bit more, but it certainly wasn't an easy night. And, the first couple of goals are an example of that. And it's chances that we haven't seen them give up too often. So when you see 2 of them kind of in rapid succession like it happened, it's unfortunate to see it at this point of the year, but certainly more video work to be done, I'm sure.
Yeah, urgency was one of the words that Rick Bowness had used before the game with some of us to talk about what he was looking to see from his group. Also a desperation level that just wasn't there. The 4 goals on 6 shots combined early on. There was certainly no shortage of goals. 3 goals on 4 shots for Colorado. Let's take a look at their first 2 goals we saw. The first one, and I mean, they're from names that everyone is very well versed in and ones that you don't want to give opportunities to.
Yeah, and I mean, Nathan MacKinnon, he starts this stretch up the ice pretty much down by the top of the crease, and by the time it gets to him, this is just a bump pass that ends up happening. But, we talked a little bit after the morning skate about, wanting to get the D involved. One of the things they've been doing all year is pinching right at the blue line, so that happened there. Problem was, I think there were 3 forwards down below, and then it was just a simple bump play. And this one here, Pionk, it's just a matter of them getting the puck up the ice, and Colorado in those early 4 or 5 minutes really seemed to be stretching a lot. They were sending guys as quickly as they could, especially on that weak side of the ice. Rodriguez just wins this battle, and it comes down, and Mikko Rantanen's got it. And I mean, the kind of season he's having, he's shooting that puck all day, even on a 2-on-1 rush. And this is what I'm talking about, though. This shot is just inside the bar.
It's a 2-on-1 with a great shot where they had all the time in the world, and you are not going to see Mikko Rantanen miss on something like that. Exactly. Nor will you see, regardless of how great of a goaltender you could be, stopping that one. The Winnipeg Jets' lone goal coming in between, sandwiched in between those goals, a power play goal off the stick of Mason Appleton. Adam Lowry spoke to TSN in the second intermission, and he said that it was unacceptable what he'd seen, but there is a difference between respecting your opponent and being scared of their speed. And one of the things that was really on display, I thought, tonight, and that proved to be a challenge for the Jets, was containing that speed that Colorado possesses.
Well, the first goal certainly seeing exactly the speed that Nathan MacKinnon has, but it was certainly a team speed that Colorado had. It was skating, number one, but it was also decision making and moving the puck. There were so many one-touch passes tonight, whether it was offensive zone, defensive zone, that close puck support that they had all over the ice allowed them to play quickly. And that's something, I mean, we talk about the things that we normally see from the Winnipeg Jets. That's exactly it. You know, normally they play with a lot of really close puck support. They're able to make these quick plays, these quick reads, and able to get up the ice and make things happen. But unfortunately, you know, tonight that wasn't the case. Colorado certainly played with a lot of pace.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we will head into the dressing room shortly, but first, Carson Kuhlman joins me from downstairs. Carson, thanks so much for doing this. Obviously, a difficult night for this group. I think a lot of people are going to wonder, or what was it that went wrong, especially early on, for this game to get out of hand?
Yeah, I think you could make the case for a lot of things that went wrong, but at the end of the day, we know what kind of team we got in that locker room, and that was obviously an off night for our group. But we'll get back at it, and we got a lot of resilient guys in there, and a lot of guys that have been around for a long time. So they'll lead the way for us.
What was the area of Colorado's game in particular that seemed to be a challenge?
Yeah, give them a lot of credit. Obviously, very good team. They've won a lot of games in the past couple of years here. I think they did a great job of coming with speed through the neutral. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to our game and getting back to the way that we know we can play.
And for you, what is the first step to being able to do that? Obviously, you guys get back at it Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think being able to turn the page quickly here, playing Sunday is good. Getting right back to it, like you said, and I think just keeping it simple is what our group does best. So just getting back to our game right away and not dwelling on this one.
And when you have a game like this, in which, I mean, in the first period, the way that it went, and it did seem to be, you know, you're looking at 4-1 at that point. In some ways, is it easier to turn that page, be quicker, because you guys have had a little bit of time to process?
Yeah, I wouldn't say easy. Obviously, we want to win every game.
Yeah.
We want to compete every night and get our team best prepared for playoffs like we can. And I think we hold ourselves to a high standard, so we just got to get back to it Sunday.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it, Carson.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, so hearing him say there, I mean, get back to what we expect to see from Winnipeg Jets hockey. We know, obviously, the talent that this group has, but this is a group that has struggled recently. They come back off of the road trip. They were 1-3, that game that they won in New York. You've got to give the credit, obviously, to Connor Hellebuck for the job that he did. And, I mean, this game could have been a little bit more out of hand had we not seen some of the saves from Connor.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, Colorado had a few power plays that they had some opportunities on there. So some of those cross-seam passes were open. Nathan McKinnon had a one-timer that Connor Hellebuck was able to shoulder away. So Hellebuck still had to make a number of great stops in this game to keep it to where it's at. So certainly, you know, like Carson Kuhlman said, they got to turn the page, and they're going to practice tomorrow. And I'm sure that's something that they're going to work on in terms of getting that pace back up, because you can always tell at the National Hockey League level if one team's just half a step off. That's kind of what it looks like, unfortunately, for the Winnipeg Jets. And, you know, certainly something that I'm sure Rick Bowness will address tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think we've said a couple of times before, you and I, that, to be a fly on the wall, intermissions. I can only imagine what it was after the first and the second, especially with just the magnitude of this game and with the standings what they are. You look, Minnesota tonight was able to pull within one of the Jets. They lost in overtime to the Leafs, and so all of a sudden you look at the way that the standings are, and things have gotten very tight. Yeah,
and it's, you know, it's a long season, certainly, and throughout the year you've always heard the players, head coach Rick Bowness talk, you know, we're going to hit a rough patch. I thought it was going to be the injury part of the season, to be honest with you, but, you know, at some points, you know, things are going to be a little bit more of a challenge, and that's what we're seeing right now. Colorado able to pick up a couple of points now. Minnesota, like you mentioned, gets 1 point.
And these were I just want to interrupt, these were the standings heading into tonight's game, so I think that's important. So Minnesota, as mentioned, so they're at 70 points now, losing in overtime. Colorado up to 69 with games in hand as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start looking at the wild card side of things as well. You know, Calgary's a team that's also trying to find their footing a little bit as well. I believe they're 4 or 5 points back of the Jets, and they are holding the second wildcard spot. So certainly things are getting tight, and you expect that from the standings as the year goes on, unless you're a team like Boston. Having the regular season that they're having right now. But ultimately, you know, things are tightening up a little bit. You just hope that the Winnipeg Jets are able to kind of find that groove that they had a little bit earlier in the season and start to get a little bit more separation, or at least start to pile some wins up to get those point totals up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's head into the Jets dressing room, and it's time to hear from Winnipeg Jets defenseman Brendan Dillon.
In the first. Yeah, I mean, from the first shift, we saw obviously
They capitalized on their chances. They were quicker to pucks. They were physical. We got humbled tonight.
Put your finger on how you can come out like that when you guys talk about this being a big one, and if you can't get up for this one.
Wish I had better answers for you. I think we've talked enough about it the last couple of games, even before the road trip, of finding a way. 3 one-goal games we lose on that road trip, and some winnable games, and then we come back and we know the importance of tonight, and there's no excuses for how that went tonight.
Expected kind of a response of some kind too, maybe even when you're down by a few. What do you think of the response?
Well, it just seemed, breakaways, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, odd man rushes, our net front, their net. It just was a little bit of everything, really. They're just, they showed us what the benchmark is, what a team that's won and knows the importance of these games and how to rise to the occasion, and we got to take the lesson from that.
You said with Paul that sometimes less is more. Does that become a mentality, or how do you get to that point?
Yeah, less is more, but a lot of those are just, whether it's missed assignments or stuff we've talked about. We're at game 58, 59 now, and there's no, like I said, there's just no excuses for it to happen. We wanted to treat these last, coming out of the bye week, 30 games, whatever it was, as playoff mentality, and that just wasn't it. You got to take away their speed. You've got to be physical every chance you can. The little plays, as you said, a little less is more, in the sense of, if you got a puck through the middle, we just got to get it in and grind them down a little bit. That's what they were doing to us, and it showed over the 60 minutes.
Is the lesson that you're taking away about the mentality that you just said? Do you even get into X's and O's in a game like this? Which side do you lean on?
I think just a little bit of everything. We know we're a good team. It was just it seems on certain nights we can be we look like a Stanley Cup contender, and then there's certain nights where we don't, and don't even look close. And I think tonight was one of those where we all just kind of know what our role is, be our piece to the puzzle, not to try to do something else or do something more than that. And if we do that on most nights this year, we've shown we can be a better team. And those guys, they lead the way. There's a reason why they were the champs last year.
The body language of Brendan Dillon there, really saying it all. Always appreciate the honesty that he gives too in his assessment, and they said Colorado showed them what the benchmark is. Sometimes this team, being the Jets, can look like they should be Stanley Cup contenders. Obviously, tonight they did not. But
yeah, you look back earlier in the season, the Winnipeg Jets beat the Colorado Avalanche in this building 5-0.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's there.
Absolutely.
And certainly, injuries both sides. That is what it is during the regular season. But certainly, you could hear it in Brendan Dillon's voice that he's not offering any excuses for tonight.
No.
And certainly stuff that they're going to have to address tomorrow.
And just quickly of note, for those that hadn't heard, that Cole Perfetti, when we talk about injuries, Cole Perfetti out a minimum of 8 weeks with an upper body injury that was suffered this road trip, 51 games played, and so there your top 6 takes a hit as well for it. So unfortunate news to see another regular season, or at least for Perfetti, ended short. But let's head back into the dressing room now and hear from Mason Appleton.
They're a really good hockey team, but we didn't help ourselves tonight. We're a really good hockey team, and we want to be. And we were not that tonight. And I think maybe we give their best guys a little too much credit and a little too much space out there, and we gotta find a way to smother those guys, because with time and space, the best players in the world are deadly. So we got to be better defensively, and we can't hang the best goalie in the league out to dry.
Even when you're down by 3-4, you can still, I don't know if send a message is the right word, but what's your take on just the lack of response? Or was there one? Did you think?
It's not like we're not trying to respond. You're playing a damn good hockey team in that other room. But you're right. We didn't have the right response. And we wanted to give that, and we wanted to be better, but we weren't. That's the bottom line. It's a results business, and we've lost a couple here, and that's unacceptable. And we gotta steer the ship back in the right direction.
So we've seen what this team looks like when you're playing the way you guys want to be playing. I asked Brendan about this. How do you find that consistency so you're getting it, whether it's the Avalanche or any other team?
Yeah, it's just next man up, next shift up mentality. It's, our game's right when we play defense first, and we have that 2-1 mindset, and then, we have the ability to score goals in here. When we have that 2-1 winning mindset, that's when we score 4 and we win 4-1. So I think, we're potent offensively when we get rolling. So I think we just got to clean some stuff up defensively and be better in our own end, and, take the wind out of the sail a little bit when they're buzzing, and, find a way to slow them down and turn the game around, because you can't let a team like that score a couple quick goals. It's tough to get back into it. And, all in all, we just got to be better.
And we'll wait now to hear from head coach Rick Bowness. One of the things that's obvious tonight, too, is that importance of secondary scoring. We saw Colorado get it. Obviously, it has been a hot topic around the Jets out their bottom 6, and the fact that they need to get more. They've had some chances. Yeah. They certainly have, but they have struggled to find the back of the net. And on a night like this, in which everything was struggling, it stood out again.
Well, and then Mason Appleton, yes, he gets the power play goal, and like I said off the top of the show, you're thinking, okay, it's 1-1, things okay. Kevin Stenlund gets 4 shots tonight. I thought he was, in and around the net. So certainly, like, that line's trying to generate. Adam Lowry kind of took it on himself in his line after the loss to the Islanders, saying we got to find it. And yeah, it's just tough sledding right now for that bottom 6. They're putting in a lot of great work, but they're just unable to, find the back of the net in any sort of capacity. There's one of Stenlund's 4 shots, and it's coming. I was talking to Morgan Barron about it this morning, and he just kind of said the hope is, you get one, and then hopefully it kind of starts to come a little bit easier for you. But right now, like he said this morning, it's going tough.
How much do you think right now, too, confidence plays a role in it? With some of the struggles that they're having, and I'm not just speaking about bottom 6, but when things aren't going right, and obviously, this one went sideways early on with it. How much does confidence think start to play a factor when some of the struggles or some of the tendencies that maybe we've seen recently creep back in?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, if only because of the fact that you're starting to see even Kyle Connor banging his stick on the boards. Like, that's not a guy that really gets frustrated. He's scored a lot of goals in his career, but he makes a real nice move in the neutral zone tonight to get around Comfer, and he gets kind of a partial break and he lets it fly. This is it right here. Like, look at this speed. This crossover speed's incredible. He gets in and it's wide, and he turns the corner there and smacks his stick against the boards. And that's just kind of how it's going for pretty much everybody. And I thought against the Rangers when they scored 4, I'm like, okay, like maybe this is going to be what opens it up a little bit. And unfortunately, it wasn't the case. They scored 1 against the Islanders, 1 against the Colorado Avalanche tonight. And, part of it, I think, kind of leans into what Morgan Barron said. You just need one to go, and then you start to get that good feeling going. And yeah, the Winnipeg Jets, they lost 4 of 5, and I think it's kind of a little bit more of like a team, not necessarily a team-wide thing, but, if you get a win that you can feel really good about, you got the win against the Rangers, but they all kind of said, we probably allowed too much in that one. If you get a win that you can have that 2-1 mentality, like Mason Appleton said, and maybe win 4-1, get some contributions throughout the lineup, I think everybody in your lineup starts to feel a lot better.
Yeah, so we mentioned that the next game will be on Sunday. It is an afternoon game. It is the Next Gen game, which will be fantastic. We're looking forward to having the atmosphere that's going to be in Canada Life Center for that. The perfect remedy, oh my goodness, I'm dropping stuff everywhere. The perfect remedy for everything can be, atmosphere-wise at least, can be to have a bunch of kids in the building as well. We're looking forward to that. But they play the New York Islanders. Let's take a look at some of the things, because, obviously this is a team that they are well-versed in, having just seen them on Wednesday. But that next game on Sunday, there we go. They played each other Wednesday. That was the 2-1 loss. Wouldn't you know, secondary scoring needs to set up. Greasy goals would be helpful. Sometimes you just need that puck to go in off of a shin pad, off of someone's back, whatever it might be. And then, and then puck management. We saw some issues with it today, and that'll be key going up against the Islanders.
Yeah, exactly. And you think back to that Islander game, Mason Appleton, who scored tonight, tries to make the drop pass. Nikolai Ehlers, kind of absolved Mason of any kind of wrongdoing there. He said, I think he thought I was going to go this way. I ended up going this way. Ends up in a turnover, but that's exactly it. That's how fine the line is, especially at this time of year. One turnover can come back the other way. And, you look at tonight in the opening 5 minutes, couple of misreads, like Brendan Dillon said, or missed assignments, and is in the back of the net. That's kind of the challenge that the Winnipeg Jets are facing at this point. And the Islanders, they got a bunch of guys out of the lineup too. Matthew Barzal's not available, Pajot's not available for them, and now you got another team that's going to come in here. They're desperate for points as well.
Yeah.
You got to be able to match that desperation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's head into the Matt Frost Media Center and hear from head coach Rick Bowness.
What did it tell you?
Well, we were asleep to start the game. No question. So, talk to the players and get their opinion. We were clearly asleep.
Account for that.
It happened. Let them explain it to you.
We tried.
Pardon me?
We tried.
Okay, well, again, listen, the play, it doesn't matter what anyone says right now. It doesn't. It's what our eyes just told us. And our eyes told us that we were asleep to start the game. So you can say there's no excuses. It's just we were asleep.
About the response, even when you get down a few, or lack of it.
Lack of, yep. The whole thing is tied there. So every once in a while, this game's going to test your character, and it's going to test your pride. And that game on Sunday will be an example of, that we just got embarrassed. So again, let's see how we respond.
I thought this was the game that was going to test that.
We would hope that it would have been. It wasn't. We move on for Sunday.
The invocation, you talking about pride or testing of character, and then contrasting that by saying they were asleep today. I mean, it seems like a kind of a pointed way of describing a game that you're disappointed in.
My point there is how we respond. Our character and pride just got tested. We didn't respond tonight. We absolutely have to respond. Win or lose Sunday, there has to be a lot more emotion. There has to be a lot more commitment to work.
Is it then your takeaways from tonight? Do you get into the X's and O's of, say, like the forecheck or the pinches on those goals?
If you're asleep, X and O's mean nothing. X and O's weren't the issue tonight. What we were supposed to do, we didn't clearly do. To give up a breakaway in the first shift and give up a 2-on-1, that's clearly not what we had talked about. So,
You talked a lot about obviously moving your feet, winning puck battles, playing with emotion, intensity.
None of that was there tonight. So
okay,
you can talk about it all you want. It wasn't there tonight. You saw the game. Just report what you saw. That's what it was.
Yeah, no, I just meant more or less like of those categories. Is it ever one thing? Is it a combination of things?
It's never when it's that bad. There's not one thing.
We talked a lot about just one more for me. We talked a lot about the intensity picking up as the season moves on.
Yep.
That's going to challenge you not just physically but mentally as well. How capable do you feel your team is?
Well, listen, we're a good hockey club. We just got to respond. Simple as that. It's what we saw. There's no secret here. We have to respond.
How do you get back into sync? I mean, we've been talking about a lot of correctable mistakes, whether it's...
At this point, they know what they're supposed to do. It's a matter of preparing to do it and preparing to work to do it. Because the way we play is you work to get above and all the other things we've talked about since September. So when it's not there, you look bad like we did tonight.
I know you don't like to pull Connor. Was this just to give him a break for Sunday or for
We'll see about that.
Okay.
How do you feel about his play?
Pardon me?
How do you feel about your goaltending?
Goaltending I wasn't worried about the goaltending. They shoot the shots they had. They had all day to shoot. What do you want a goalie to do there? Nothing.
Well, it won't take long to transcribe that availability with it. Didn't need a lot of words, though, in order to describe that one. But testing their character and pride, we just got embarrassed. Absolutely have to respond Sunday. And no surprise that would obviously, that's what everyone, whether it be within that dressing room, coaching staff, management, fans certainly waiting to see the type of response that the Jets provide.
Well, especially like we talked just before Rick Bowness came to the podium, it's about desperation at this point, and you're going to be having to match that desperation level from a lot of teams. And so not only do you have to play at your best, but there's going to be that little bit of extra because, I mean, standings points are so valuable at this point of the year, whether it's for seeding for teams that are perhaps a little bit more comfortable in their playoff position, or for teams like the Islanders that, you look at the standings, they might be in, but they give up a lot of games in hand to the teams that are chasing them. So, yeah, like ultimately it comes down to the response, and it's going to be interesting because you have a practice Saturday, you got an afternoon start, there's no real morning skate, so you're going to have time from the afternoon on Saturday till puck drop on Sunday to get feeling your best and getting as dialed in as possible.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting to see what changes, if any, he makes to the lineup, to the line combinations. Who do we see in net? We do know that Connor Hellebuyck loves the afternoon games. We'll see whether or not he gets back in for the next start. But it will be an interesting one. And, of course, a lot of talk leading up to this game and then over this next week coming up as well. Trade deadline happening on Friday this week, and there's a lot of people with the way that the West is. We've discussed how tight it is. Nobody has run away with it, so a lot of opportunity people see. It'll be interesting to see how Kevin Cheveldayoff and the management group elects to approach and what sort of changes we see with this or additions that we see with this Winnipeg Jets group. All right, that is it for us. There's no point in belaboring this game. We are going to turn the page on it as well, but we look forward. That's right. That is it. We're done. I'm going to throw my books to the side. I've already started throwing everything.
Yeah, there we go.
Why not add to it? We will see you hopefully Sunday afternoon after that 2:30 p.m. start game. Of course, you can always catch us after the game on YouTube, on all the social media platforms. Mitchell will have a full wrap-up of this game afterwards as well on the Winnipeg Jets website, and you can go there to hear the rest of Brendan Dillon's availability as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on Sunday.